Well, I just did some upgrading. I bought some new gear to help me make YouTube videos, and this got me thinking that this might be a real good time to go ahead and make the video that people have been asking me to make for quite a while, which is about the gear that I use. The camera that I use, that is the big question I get asked a lot, is what camera I use. So this would be a good time just to go through and answer all of those questions. I'll also talk about why I am upgrading to this, and we'll look at the old one and just get into it a little bit. So if you're interested in that, this is the video for you. So let's start off with the big question, which is the camera that I use. That's the most important piece of my equipment, and the camera that I use is this here. This is an iPhone 11 Pro Max. I think I've had it about 5 years. It's been a fantastic phone. It's got a great camera in it. Both the cameras on the back and the front-facing camera are very good in it, even though it is an older camera by today's standards. Now, I don't own another camera like a lot of YouTubers. Most YouTubers have a camera specifically for making YouTube videos. They usually own drones and other little cameras. I don't. I have one camera, which is this. This is my iPhone. This is the camera that I use because it's always with me, and you know what they say, the best camera is the camera that is with you all the time. So this is the backbone of what I use to record my videos with. Now obviously I do have some other choices. What you're viewing right now is my iPad. That does have a camera in it. It doesn't work quite as well as my phone's camera, I don't think. Even though the iPad is newer than my phone seems to have better cameras, or at least it seems to record a little bit better. That's just my experience. Now, over the years, I've made some changes to how I record video. Back when I first started, I would hold out my camera. It was an old iPhone at the time too, but I would just hold it out and record video at arm's length. Now this works, but it is a little awkward, both for me to hold up, and I think it gives kind of an awkward view for you that are watching. The other thing about doing it this way is I've dropped my phone a few times. I've never actually cracked my phone or damaged my phone in any way, but after I dropped it a few times, I decided that it was probably a good time to invest in a selfie stick or something like a selfie stick so that I could, one, get the phone out farther away from me, and two, get a better grasp on it so I didn't drop it quite so much. So I've owned several selfie sticks and tripods over the years. This is one of them. This was a pretty decent option for holding the camera steady. It has this nice little camera phone mount that screws into the 1/4-20 thread on the tripod. Most tripods have that. And this works pretty well. It has a nice hand grip on it. So it did give me a little bit more reach. And probably the best thing about this is that it gave me a good steady hold on my phone. This one has loosened up though, and so normally it's supposed to lock in place, and you would press this button to make changes to the little ball head here on how you want to hold the phone. Unfortunately, this one is quite worn out and it moves all around, and so I stopped using this one mostly for that. I did really like it as a selfie stick. I also liked it as a tripod. It would just open up and set down on a tabletop and work quite well. But when it wore out, I needed to find something better. So the better thing that I found was this kind of selfie stick / tripod. This is a very unusual design when they first came out with this. Now there are copycats that you can find for a little bit better price than this one, but this is made by a company called Sirui, and it's made all in metal. It does have some rubber pieces for the grip, but it's all metal, so it's very heavy, but it's quite unique and quite durable. This has been a fantastic kind of tripod and selfie stick, although there are some issues with it. One that I mentioned, the weight of it is kind of a lot, especially if I'm holding it out. It is a little bit tiresome to hold on to, but it does give me a little bit of reach, especially because it opens up, and it opens up in a couple of ways, and this is the unique part of this. The handle opens up, and you can use it this way so it gives you a little bit more reach. You can also turn this little dial here on the bottom, and that turns this into a tripod base. But if you wanted to use this more as a selfie stick, you can actually get a little bit more reach by opening up the second adjustment here. And this was fantastic. When I first found this, I just really like this. Getting your phone out away from you makes for a much better view, I think. And this has been really, really good for quite a while. I've had this for a number of years. In fact, I kind of influenced another YouTuber friend to buy one of these, and he used it for a long time until this piece broke on him, and he decided to go a different route, bought a different type of tripod. And the one thing that he said about this tripod is it's a little fumbly to go from selfie stick mode, like I was showing you, to the tripod mode. Trying to get it set up to the tripod mode, and sometimes you forget what it's set at down here, and so I fumble with it. He mentioned the same thing, and so he kind of got tired of it. I like it because it's so compact when it is all put together. It doesn't take up a lot of room. Room and space is an issue for me, and so it's been really good, even though it does have some negatives to it. I've really liked it. Now, unfortunately, my one issue with this, the big issue with this, is that when I have this piece opened up and lock it down as tight as I can lock it, I found that it does tend to move a little bit, and it'll kind of just droop on me. So I'll be holding this out with my phone on the end, and my phone will just droop over, and then I have to start all over again. This is a problem for me because I don't consider myself an actor. I consider myself a vlogger or a video maker, and I don't like to have to set back up and do another take. I don't do takes. I just want to say what's on my mind in one take and be done with it. That's my idea of vlogging, is not writing out a script and reading something. That's something I don't do, and this tripod was forcing me to do that. Now, I think part of the issue is the age. I've used this a lot over the years. I've had this several years, and it's just getting older, and I think it's starting to wear out. But two, I have a very heavy phone. iPhone 11 Pro Maxes are extremely heavy. They've got a big battery in them, and that's a lot of weight to put on any tripod, even though this tripod is technically capable of holding up all that weight. It just seems like it's been having a little issue with that. The other thing is I do add a little extra weight because I have a phone holder, which is also all metal, so that is a little heavy. And then you'll notice that I have this contraption on top. This is an external microphone. This, in combined with my phone, is a lot of weight. This is a nice setup. This little phone holder works very, very well. I put my phone in it like so, and I tighten it down, and it holds my phone extremely well. I don't have to worry about my phone falling out, dropping, and something happening to it. But this is heavy, so I can kind of demonstrate how I normally use this, although it is a little tight in here, but you can probably get a good idea. So if I open this up all the way and have this out the way I normally use this, so I've got the centerpiece opened up all the way, and I have the handles flipped down so that I've got lots and lots of space, and I get lots and lots of distance from the camera to me, which I think makes a better viewing angle for everybody combined. But this is really heavy, and this is the point where I was getting that kind of drooping. It would just kind of fall over and droop. This has been a fantastic setup, but I realized I needed to make a little bit of a change, and so I did some searching, and that's when I ended up with this tripod here. Now, at first glance, this new tripod may seem like it is much bigger and probably much heavier than the old tripod I was using. You can see the size difference of them there, but in actuality, they're about the same weight. The old tripod is almost completely metal. This new tripod does have a lot of metal, but the legs on it are carbon fiber, so it cuts down a little bit of the weight. Now, one thing that I did that kind of saved me a little bit of money was I used my existing ball head off of my full-size tripod. My full-size tripod, as well as the new one and the old one, are all made by the same company. It's a Chinese company called Sirui that makes very good quality equipment. I like the equipment that they make, and that was another factor in me switching the ball head that I already had and using it on the new tripod that I'm also calling a selfie stick here, because that's the way I'm going to use it. I know that this tripod is good and solid. I've had this for a number of years too, and I really like the way it tightens down. It's very easy to use. It has a little panning adjustment on this, so I can open up one and use it to pan around, which is good for video. So there's a lot to like about this ball head that I already owned, and so I just decided to buy the legs by themselves and screw on my existing tripod head. And unfortunately, this tripod head, since it's made for a full-size tripod, it's a little bit heavy. So doing it this way, this is still maybe just slightly lighter than my old tripod, but not by much. They're about equal. So even though I am not saving much on weight, this tripod does have some great features to it. For one, it is made to hold a lot more weight than my old tripod, and so I haven't been experiencing any of that drift that the old one had, that droopiness that the old one had. It's been good and solid, and so I do like that. The other thing is this tripod does have feet that extend down on a quarter lock. And so I can extend these down, and I actually get a little bit more reach with this tripod than I do with the old one. So to me, that's a big benefit. Now, if I do use it in this way, so I drop these legs down and use it kind of like a selfie stick, basically, it's not the nicest thing to hold on to. I'm holding on to just some pipes here on the end, and it's not quite as comfortable of a grip as, say, the old one is, because the old one is kind of designed with a grip to it. But I do like the fact that I get a little bit more reach. So all in all, I think that this is a better tripod for me, at least as long as it holds up and holds up the weight of my heavy camera. So even though I haven't had this very long, I'm liking how well it is working so far. One thing that I like a lot better about this tripod versus my old one is just using it in a regular tripod mode. I can simply open up the legs and I'm good to go if I'm using this just as a tripod. So it's a lot less fumbly versus my old setup. Now there's one thing about this new tripod that is the same as my old tripod, which is this head. This is an Arca Swiss head, or an Arca Swiss type connection head, and this makes it really easy for me to leave my phone attached to my phone holder, and that's important because I have this whole setup with my microphone here that I have to use. We'll talk about that in a second, but that makes it easy for me to move this whole rig here with my phone attached to one of my other tripods. If I need to move my phone onto my full-size tripod, I can do that quite easily this way. Or if I wanted to use one of my other mounting techniques, I have my old tripod here, or I do have some magnet mounts that have the same Arca Swiss setup on them. And so it makes it really nice and quick for me to change camera angles, since I really just have the one camera, which is my one phone. And one more feature that I really like about this new setup is this little additional 1/4-20 thread that is mounted right into the base of the tripod. That makes it easy for me to add another device. Say if I had a light, or I really could even move my microphone down to this spot, and I can do that by using one of these little magic arms. This has a 1/4-20 thread on both sides, and that would simply screw right into the tripod, and it gives me another attachment point that can really be useful at times. There are times where I do need to use a light if I'm out, say, at night. Sometimes if I am recording something specific and I need to spread a little bit more light on what I'm looking at, this would be really useful in times like that. And then the last thing we can talk about is my microphone. This is a directional external microphone that I was kind of forced into buying. Unfortunately, I've got lots of little issues with my phone. My phone is old. I think I've had it about 5 years, and there are some things wrong with it. One of the things that's wrong with it is the internal microphones in the phone just do not work very well anymore. So if I try to use the internal mics, I don't get usable sound quality. So that has forced me to look for an external microphone, and that's why I went ahead and bought this one. This is made by a company called Deity. This is their VMic D3. They make two versions of that VMic D3. This is the least expensive of the two, and I really like this microphone. It has dropped in price since I have bought it, but it's made it an even better value now. It works with a number of different devices, whether you're using a phone like I am or a full-blown camera like a lot of people use. It has some circuitry inside, so when you plug it in, it automatically detects what it's plugged into and changes the setup of the microphone so that it works perfectly with most devices. So really good mic, and there are no settings to change on it, so it just all you need to do is plug it in and go. So it's a real plug-and-play type microphone. Has very, very good sound. The one thing that I would say about this microphone is Deity does not sell it with a wind muff like you see here. So I did have to search around and find a wind muff for it. Some people call it a dead cat. I know that's not a term that a lot of people like to hear, but that is what it's called most of the time. We'll call it a wind muff here, but I had to find a wind muff for it. So this is wind muff I found on Amazon from a company called Movo, and it works quite well. Don't know why Deity doesn't make a wind muff for this particular mic. They do for other mics that they sell, but they don't for this one. It is very, very important to have a wind muff on a mic like this. They supply the mic with a small foam cover, and that works reasonably well inside. But if I'm outside, any little bit of wind would go right through that foam cover, and so I realized I really needed to buy this wind muff for the times that I'm outside. And this one has really worked out quite well. So this is my setup. This is what I have been using to record my YouTube videos with, or at least something very similar to this. Now, I have made some changes over the years. Since I've started making YouTube videos, I've had different phones over the years. This iPhone 11 Pro Max has been the best phone so far, not just as a phone, but as a camera for recording YouTube videos. It's just been fantastic. I do use some apps. I do use some other things. Over the years, I have added and subtracted to what I use to record YouTube videos. One thing that I will talk about just briefly is a lot of people use gimbals. I have not found the need to use a gimbal. I like the look that they give in that they kind of smooth out maybe my hand gestures and things. Sometimes I get a little shaky, especially if I'm holding up something heavy like this setup. But they do give a different look. A gimbal gives a very different look, and I'm not so sure I like that look for my videos. I think I like the look of just me holding my camera as steady as I can. I can go in with my editing software and kind of smooth some of that out in post-production. That's another thing I try not to do. So part of what I was doing with this when I bought this new tripod is I was trying to find something that was a little bit lighter so that hopefully I'm not quite so shaky. That hasn't proved to change at all from my old setup, but but I do think that this is still a better way, and I do think that this is still a better system to use versus a gimbal, at least for me. Part of the thing about using a gimbal too is it would be something that I would have to charge. It's also bigger. It would take up a little more space. I just don't want to take up any more space, and I don't want to have to charge something else. And so I kind of prefer the lo-fi way of going about things if I possibly can. So no gimbal for me anytime soon. I have considered it, but I just think that I like the look of the video without a gimbal, just for my videos. And the last thing I'd like to say is, just because this setup works for me, I'm not saying it would work for you. I think that the only way to know what equipment will work for you is to just get out there and try it. The microphone, for instance, is something I don't really recommend people go out and buy unless you absolutely need one. I wouldn't have bought an external microphone if it hadn't been for the issues with my old phone. So that's something that was an extra cost. It's an extra thing to mind. It's an extra thing to take up space here in my little van that I wished I didn't have to buy, but it does provide a little bit of benefits, especially if I'm filming outside, or I should say recording outside. I'm not filming anything, am I? But if I'm recording outside, I do really like having the external microphone. I also like having a good stable tripod because I do try to take some different types of videos that you don't see here on this channel. I'll talk about that at some point in the future too, but from time to time I need a good stable tripod. I do have my full-size tripod, but I don't always like to take that one out if I'm going to be walking for a long distance. I would rather take something that's lighter than heavier. And just as a closing thought here, I do want to say that just because I'm using these products and they work for me, I'm not saying that they would work for you. So I'm not endorsing these products at all. I like these products just because they kind of fit how I record video. And there are some products that I've added because I've just needed them. The microphone would be one of those things. I would not have bought an external microphone if it weren't for my phone's microphones breaking on me. So the external microphone has actually been a good thing, even though I wouldn't have bought it, and I bought it kind of begrudgingly. It is nice to have a microphone that works outside in some windy conditions, but it's something that not everybody needs. And so that's why I'm saying that I don't really endorse all these products. I think it's good to know what other people use because you can kind of get some ideas on what you might like and what might work well for you. But I wouldn't necessarily say that my setup would work for everybody else. In fact, probably most everybody else would be happier with a gimbal and maybe a real camera and not a phone. But all these things work great for me, and I don't think I'm going to be making any changes anytime soon. But that also doesn't mean that I am, again, endorsing them and telling you that you should go out and buy some of these things for yourself. And that covers all the equipment that I use to record my YouTube videos. It's a real simple setup, and that works well for me. My phone has been a great camera, and hopefully this will put to rest all the questions that I get about what camera I use. It's kind of funny how many people just don't believe me that I am using my phone. You know, a lot of YouTube channels use just a phone to record their YouTube videos, and I think it makes a great camera. Cameras in phones now are fantastic, and keep in mind, I have an older phone. My phone is about 5 years old, and it works perfectly well. So this is probably the setup I'm going to be using for quite a while because I don't feel like I need to make any real changes. And if you are interested in more behind-the-scenes type videos like this, you are welcome to subscribe to my Patreon. Now, if you are averse to Patreon for some reason, I do have the same videos available to YouTube channel members. So there's a couple of things that you can sign up for that would help support me. And also, I do lots more behind-the-scenes type videos there versus here on regular YouTube. So that is available if you are interested. So thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it.